Imagine a time when a simple, unsigned letter could paralyze an entire state. A time when a mysterious symbol, a circle with a cross through it, became a harbinger of death. This is not a Hollywood movie. This is the true story of a phantom who haunted the streets of California, a killer who was never caught, and a mystery that remains unsolved to this day. He called himself the Zodiac. Welcome to TSF History, your portal to the most compelling and often shocking stories from our past. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our deep dives into the historical events that shaped our world. Today, we unravel the chilling tale of the Zodiac Killer and the secrets that still haunt California. The late 1960s in America was a time of immense social and cultural change. The Summer of Love had painted a picture of peace and free expression, especially in San Francisco. But beneath this veneer of tranquility, a dark and sinister shadow was about to emerge, a shadow that would instill fear in the hearts of Californians for decades to come. Our story begins on a cold December night in 1968, on a remote lover's lane on Lake Herman Road in Benicia, a small city on the outskirts of the San Francisco Bay Area. Two high school students, Betty Lou Jensen and David Faraday, were on their first date. They had parked their car in a quiet spot, seeking a moment of privacy. What they found instead was terror in its purest form. A second car pulled up beside them. A man emerged, and without a word, he opened fire on the young couple. Betty Lou was found just outside the car with 5 gunshot wounds to her back. David was found near the passenger side with a single, fatal shot to his head. There were no witnesses, no immediate suspects, and no apparent motive. It was a brutal and senseless act of violence that left the local police baffled. The reign of the Zodiac Killer had begun, though no one knew it yet. For the next 6 months, an unsettling silence fell over the Bay Area. The double homicide on Lake Herman Road remained a tragic but isolated incident in the minds of the public and law enforcement. But that all changed on the 4th of July, 1969. In the early hours of the morning, another young couple, Darlene Farron and Michael Mageau, were parked at the Blue Rock Springs Park in Vallejo, just a few miles from the first crime scene. A car approached them, its headlights blinding them. It drove away, but then returned minutes later, parking behind them. A man with a flashlight approached their car.
Mageau, assuming it was a police officer, reached for his identification. But the man was no officer. He unleashed a hail of bullets into the car, hitting both Darlene and Michael multiple times. Darlene was killed instantly. Michael, despite being shot in the face, neck, and chest, miraculously survived. He was able to give a description of the attacker, a short, heavy-set white male. But the most chilling part of this attack was what happened next. Less than an hour after the shooting, a man called the Vallejo Police Department. His voice was calm, almost monotonous. He spoke in a measured tone, as if he were reading from a script. He claimed responsibility not only for the attack at Blue Rock Springs, but also for the murders of Betty Lou Jensen and David Faraday the previous year. To prove his claim, he provided details that only the killer could have known. And then he ended the call with a haunting message. I am the Zodiac. This was the first time the killer had given himself a name. It was the beginning of a twisted game of cat and mouse with the police and the media. The Zodiac wasn't just a murderer. He was a performer who craved the spotlight. And he was about to take his performance to a whole new level. On August 1, 1969, 3 prominent newspapers in the San Francisco Bay Area, the San Francisco Chronicle, the San Francisco Examiner, and the Vallejo Times-Herald each received a handwritten letter. The letters began with the chilling phrase, "This is the Zodiac speaking." In these letters, the killer took credit for the shootings and provided more crime scene details to prove his authenticity. But there was something else in these letters, something that would become the Zodiac's trademark, a cipher. The letters contained a 408-symbol cryptogram, which the killer claimed held his identity. He demanded that the newspapers publish the cipher on their front pages, or he would go on a killing spree that weekend. The threat was too credible to ignore. The ciphers were published. The entire state of California was now in a state of panic. Who was this Zodiac? What did his cryptic message say? The FBI's top cryptographers, along with amateur codebreakers from all over the country, worked tirelessly to crack the code. Just a week later, a high school teacher from Salinas, Donald Hardin, and his wife Betty managed to decipher the message. The public held its breath, hoping for a name, a clue, anything that would lead to the killer's capture. But the decoded message was far more disturbing than anyone could have imagined. It was a rambling, misspelled confession that revealed the killer's twisted motive. The decoded message read, in part, "I like killing people because it is so much fun. It is more fun than killing wild game in the forest because man is the most dangerous animal of all. To kill something gives me the most thrilling experience. It is even better than getting your rocks off with a girl. The best part of it is that when I die, I will be reborn in paradise, and all that I have killed will become my slaves. I will not give you my name because you will try to slow down or atop my collecting of slaves for my afterlife." The Zodiac had laid his soul bare, revealing a narcissistic and psychopathic personality. He believed he was collecting slaves for the afterlife, but he had not revealed his name. The mystery only deepened. And the Zodiac was not done. In fact, he was just getting started. On September 27, 1969, he struck again, this time in the serene setting of Lake Berryessa in Napa County. A young couple, Brian Hartnell and Cecilia Shepard, were relaxing by the lake when they were approached by a man wearing a bizarre executioner-style hood. He held them at gunpoint and told them he was an escaped convict who needed their car and money to flee to Mexico. But then the situation took a horrifying turn. The man tied them up and then, without warning, began brutally stabbing them with a long knife. He stabbed Brian 6 times and Cecilia a staggering 10 times. Before leaving, he walked over to Brian's car and drew his now infamous crossed circle symbol on the door, along with the dates of his previous attacks. Miraculously, Brian Hartnell survived the attack and was able to give a detailed account of the horrifying ordeal. Cecilia Shepard, however, succumbed to her injuries 2 days later. The Zodiac's brutality had escalated from firearms to a more personal and sadistic method of killing. Just 2 weeks later, the Zodiac struck for the last time, at least according to the official count. On October 11, 1969, a taxi driver named Paul Stein picked up a passenger in San Francisco's Theater District. The passenger directed him to the upscale neighborhood of Presidio Heights. There, in a quiet, tree-lined street, the passenger shot Stein in the head, killing him instantly. The killer then tore off a piece of Stein's blood-soaked shirt. As he was leaving the taxi, he was seen by 3 teenagers across the street who called the police. The police dispatcher, in a crucial and still debated error, broadcasted that the suspect was a black male. When 2 police officers arrived at the scene, they saw a white male walking away from the area. Believing he was not the suspect, they let him go. It is widely believed that this was the Zodiac Killer, having a chillingly close encounter with the law and simply walking away. A few days later, a letter arrived at the San Francisco Chronicle. It contained a piece of Paul Stine's bloody shirt, proving that the author was indeed the killer. The Zodiac mocked the police for their incompetence, claiming they had stopped and spoken with him just moments after the murder. This was the last confirmed murder committed by the Zodiac Killer. But his reign of terror through the mail was far from over. He continued to send a series of taunting letters and cards to newspapers and even to prominent individuals like the famous lawyer Melvin Belli. He sent more ciphers, including the infamous 340-character cipher, which remained unsolved for over 50 years until it was finally cracked in 2020 by a team of amateur sleuths. The message was another taunt. I hope you are having lots of fun in trying to catch me. I am not afraid of the gas chamber because it will send me to paradise all the sooner because I now have enough slaves to work for me. The Zodiac's letters were filled with threats of more killings, of bombing a school bus, and of his growing body count, which he claimed was 37. The police investigated thousands of suspects over the years. The most famous of these was Arthur Lee Allen, a former school teacher with a history of child molestation. Many pieces of circumstantial evidence pointed towards Allen. A friend claimed that Allen had confessed his desire to hunt people with a gun and a knife. Allen owned a Zodiac brand watch, and his shoe and glove sizes matched the evidence found at some of the crime scenes. He was also in the vicinity of some of the murders when they occurred. However, the evidence was never strong enough to charge him. His fingerprints and DNA did not match the samples collected from the Zodiac's letters. Allen died in 1992, taking any secrets he may have had to the grave. Over the years, many other suspects have been named by amateur detectives and authors. Men like Richard Gaikowski, a journalist who worked for a counterculture newspaper in San Francisco, and Gary Francis Post, who was recently named as a suspect by a team of cold case investigators. But to this day, no one has been definitively identified as the Zodiac Killer. The case remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in American history. The Zodiac Killer's impact on California and the nation as a whole was profound. He ushered in a new era of serial killers who used the media to spread fear and notoriety. His cryptic messages and taunting letters captivated and terrified the public in equal measure. The Zodiac case also highlighted the limitations of law enforcement in the pre-DNA era.
The lack of coordination between different police departments and the absence of modern forensic techniques hampered the investigation from the very beginning. But perhaps the most enduring legacy of the Zodiac Killer is the sense of unease and the unanswered questions he left behind. Who was this man who terrorized Northern California? Was he a brilliant criminal mastermind or just a lucky and sadistic individual? Did he simply stop killing, or did he continue his reign of terror in other parts of the country, as some have suggested? The secrets of the Zodiac Killer are still out there, buried in the passage of time. They haunt the families of his victims, the investigators who dedicated their lives to the case, and all of us who are fascinated by the darker aspects of human nature. The man in the executioner's hood, the voice on the phone, the author of the cryptic letters, he remains a ghost, a chilling reminder that sometimes the monster is never caught. The story of the Zodiac Killer is a chilling journey into the mind of a murderer and the heart of a mystery that has endured for over half a century. What are your theories on the Zodiac's identity? Do you think the case will ever be solved? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you found this deep dive into one of history's most infamous cold cases as fascinating as we did, please give this video a thumbs up and consider subscribing to TSF History for more stories that will make you question everything you thought you knew about the past. Don't forget to hit that notification bell so you're the first to know when we release our next video. Thanks for watching, and until next time, keep exploring the secrets of history.